Welcome back for another long format tutorial for a much requested project by the awesome Shara Crane. She has designed this wonderful little multi-cinch mini album made mostly out of card bases. So we're going to walk through this entire project step by step to show you every single piece of how you can create one of these for yourself. Let's go ahead and get started. The main base of this mini album is these pages that are actually cards from one of these card making kits. So these kits are awesome because they come with card bases, envelopes, but then they also come with stickers, washi sheets, and a bunch of ephemera. If you don't have one of these awesome card kits, which is what Shara used to make her album, you can, of course, use your own pattern papers, cardstock, stickers, ephemera, and washi tape. But for today, we're going to be using this kit in the tutorial. But anytime I use something from the kit, just remember, you can pull from your stash and use what you have. Okay, so the base is made up of the cards that come in that little kit. I've pre-cut my shapes here, but I wanted to start with the card bases. So these are the card bases that come in the card kit. They're the same standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2-inch card that you can get in a boxed card set as well. Or you can cut your own papers down to 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 and then just fold them right in the middle. That way you can get your card base. We're going to need 5 of those. For ease, there is also attached down below a printable instruction sheet, and this has all of the supplies you'll need as well as the step-by-step instruction that we're going to be covering in this video. And it will also have all of the measurements there for you for your reference. So you can print that out, pull that up on your phone, whatever is easiest for you to refer to that as we continue to work along. Okay, let's start with this first page. I think I'll flip through the whole album for you so you can see some of the features. So this is the front cover. So this is card 1, page 1, the front. Then when you open up the card, you can see there's fun ephemera. We're going to make lots of spaces for photos and journaling. We're going to be doing some flip pages, some more tuck pockets, some fun embellishments. This is just a little removable card that's blank on the back. You could put photos or journaling there as well as underneath it. This will have a photo behind it, so it's this cute little flip frame. This is also double pockets. This is a double flip. And then we have our last page, which has a pocket here as well, lots of spots for journaling, and then the back cover. So let's start with this front card. For that card, we will need one of our card bases. And I wanted to give you one little tip that Shara shared that I thought was really valuable. On this album, you can see I've done a lot of stitching with my sewing machine. So I've actually sewing machine stitched around these different panels just to give it some added interest and be fun to look at. And also I've stitched down some of my trims and different things like that. Any stitching that you want to do, you're going to do that before you adhere the panels to your card base. That way the stitching doesn't show through from one side to the other. So you'll stitch them and then adhere them on, if that makes sense. So for this front cover, we're first going to take, for our pockets, now all of the pockets that are these double stacked pockets, the papers for them are the same size. The bigger one is 2 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the smaller one is 1 3/4 by 5 1/2. And those will just stack up perfectly to make a double pocket. We're going to do it just like Shara did and tear along these rough edges that are going to be the front edges of our pockets. And how I like to do that is to turn it toward myself and then just tear off about 1/4 inch. So I'm tearing toward myself. And then that will actually be the pocket. Now we just need to do it to the cardstock piece as well. These pieces of paper came from a coordinating 6 by 8 or 12 by 12 paper pad. Again, you can just pull from whatever is in your stash. These papers were not included in that card kit, so I just wanted to make note of that. These I pulled in from a paper pad. Now we're just going to adhere these to the front of the card. We want to adhere only on the top outer edge and bottom side. So we leave this side open to be our pocket. You can use whatever adhesives you prefer. I'm just using this glue pen for today. I'll also use a tape runner later on. Now we'll let that dry, and as soon as it's dry, you'll see that we have this double pocket. You can tuck something into both of those little sides. So I've just chosen an ephemera card from the card kit, and I'm just going to use that to tuck inside, but I want to add a little bit of embellishment to it. These are the stickers that came in that card kit, but again, like I said, you can pull from your own stash, whatever you have. So I'm going to use one of these little stickers to make a little pull tab. So I'm just going to choose this one right here. I'm going to put it right here on the top of my sticker. Now, it's still sticky on the back, but I want that to be a pull tab. So I am going to grab out a little bit of dusting powder. This is actually the We Are Makers from the mold press. This dusting powder works perfectly in the mold press to work with your molds, but in this case, I'm using it to take the stick off my sticker. And the little brush just helps me apply it really cleanly and smoothly onto there. And it's just a little cornstarch powder. I just do it until the stick has been removed from the piece of that sticker that's extending past where I want it to be a pull tab. There we go. Now it's no longer sticky and I can just use it as a pull tab. Great little tip there to use that. Now I'm just going to add one more little bit of embellishment from my stickers. This is the fun part where you can play. Let's do this pink flower. I've still left a little bit of room where I can write if I want to. You could put more journaling or a photo on the back. And I'm just adding this one piece to the front, but you could tuck another little something right in there. Another thing to keep in mind while we're working on this journal is we are going to be cinching this side to make our spine, as you can see here. So we need to make sure that any embellishments don't extend beyond about 1/4 inch from the edge of that left side of the fold of the card. So we're good with that one. We're ready to go to the inside. This is what we'll be doing. And this is where there's an example of where I machine stitched around these 2 panels prior to adhering them to the card. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that now, and then you'll adhere them inside the card right here. The other thing we need to do is if you're wanting to add fun trims, so Shara added all of these fun trims, so I did something similar. You would sandwich that between the layer here. So we'll do that right now. I'm not going to stitch on this one, so I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it. There's our inside piece, then we need to put down our trim, which I have right here. This fun pom-pom trim. I like to get it kind of close up to the edge so that those fun pom-poms can just fall off the edge there. Then we'll go ahead and add our second liner. And these liners just measure the same as the card. So they are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And again, these papers were just from a coordinating paper pad. This is a great stash busting project. Just went ahead and glue that down. So now we have our inside pages. Next, Shara did this fun little collection of die cut shapes. So I want to show you how she did that right now. Hers were stars, mine are going to be hearts. So for that, I am going to use my mini evolution, which I have right here, and a set of dies that are nesting heart dies. So that's what these are right here. So we're going to cut out this largest one right now. I've pre-cut these. We're going to cut this largest one. So I'll show you how I did that little frame. So I'm going to choose 2 dies that are right next to each other in size. Then I'm going to grab my scrap of paper and I'm going to just align these directly onto my paper. And they are really close in size. So you'll see I'll just kind of use my eye to space them so they're at a good spacing from each other for the little frame that we're going to cut. Just nesting them. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth it because you get these nice, dainty little frames. Then I'm going to take just a piece of random washi tape. I like it because it's low tack to hold my dies in place so they don't shift while I'm running it through the mini evolution. And that won't affect the cutting at all. Make sure they're right where I want them. Tape them down. Let's run that through our mini evolution. You can just remove the washi. You can see we have this precious little framed heart, perfect for our project. Now it also has cut out the center heart, which is this larger heart. And I'm going to save that to use somewhere else in the book. Okay, now we need to do one more cut, and this time we want the larger of the 2 hearts. So I'm going to keep that one out, put this one back down. And I have chosen this fun quilted pattern to cut to go inside of my heart frame here. So this one you can kind of play around with and find a spot on your paper that you like what's showing through. And place your heart where you want it to cut. Kind of like it right here because it's showing a lot of that quilted pattern. So I'm just going to place it there and grab my washi again. And run it through my mini revolution again. Now I have that cute little heart that's quilted to go behind my little frame that we already cut. So you can use these scraps for other punching or cutting. I'm just going to set mine aside for now. My die heart back and set those aside as well. Okay, now we just need to assemble this. So we are going to take our glue pen or another fine line glue and adhere the frame to our quilted little heart. You could use any pattern paper that you like for the inside, something that speaks to you. This was a cute Paige Evans collection. She has lots of quilted elements in her collections. I think they're really fun to play with. Just went ahead and adhere that little frame onto my heart and allow it to dry. Okay, now if you want a fun bonus step, you can see here that I've added some quilted lines stitched right here onto my heart onto the project. I'll show you how to do that, just a little portion of it. Today we're not going to do the whole thing together, but if you wanted to stitch some extra quilting lines, you like that kind of hand sewing, then you could do that here. So I will grab a piece of foam. This is just a little piece of a foam mat that I've cut down to be smaller. So I've just chosen a needle with a larger eye for this thicker twine. And I'm just going to take my needle and use it to pierce the holes of where I want to stitch. Now I tend to just follow the obvious lines. So these two lines, crisscrossing lines, and this is where you can have fun. If you wanted to go diagonal, you could do that as well. But I'll show you how I do that. So you just take it and start right at the edge and try to space them just using my eye about the same space apart. When I come to a line where lines intersect, I try to always make sure that I have one little dot right there, because that looks better when you're intersecting your stitches, to have one little hole where both of those threads can go down inside to the back. Now, no one is going to notice if these are not perfectly spaced. I promise. Mine never are, and they still look great. So you just go ahead and punch. You could also use a piercing tool to do this, but since I already had my needle out, I figured might as well just use that. Okay, and then I would continue to do that just to pierce the holes. You can use a ruler as a guide if you want to pierce those holes for stitching. Just going to give you a little taste of this, of what it looks like and how I do it. Then you just thread your needle and start from the back. Come up through one of your pierced holes. And you can secure this on the back with a knot, or you can tape it down. I just hold it with my finger to get started, because then it starts to hold itself. And then you're just going to do a running stitch. So that means I just come down into the next hole, then I skip down to the following hole. It's a running back stitch, and go back up. And then again down to the bottom hole, just below, back up and into the next. And you'll just continue sewing in that way until you have all of the quilting that your heart desires. So you can see it's just starting to do that little running stitch. This is a really fun technique to do, and then you'll end up with fun little quilted patterns in your design. You can do this on striped paper. You could stitch around little flowers on floral paper. Really, you can use this technique on any type of pattern paper that you put inside of your hearts. Then we'll go ahead and we'll adhere the hearts to the inside of our page. I'll wait to adhere to my large one, but you'll see I just adhere them just like that. Okay. This inside page we left blank so that you could put a photo or journaling there. Just going to set my embellishments aside so I can stitch them later. And then the back of this card was also left blank, so it's another perfect place to put photos or embellishments. Okay, page 1 is done, card 1. Let's move on to card 2. Here's all of the pieces that I've pre-cut for card 2. These measurements, again, are all in the instructions PDF, which you can access for free. So let's look at what we'll be doing. So the front of our card has some simple sticker and thicker embellishments. And then the inside also uses some just ephemera and washi tape and a little bit of trim, leaving space to add little small photos or journaling. And then the back page is this flip page. So let's start with the front cover. Front cover, we are going to add some stickers in a little cluster, and then we'll add our phrase. I like these stickers that came in this card kit because there's lots of small and large floral pieces, which I'm just going to cluster all together. Remember to keep 1/4 inch on this side here, free for the cinch binding. Pink flower. Clustering, I just overlap ever so slightly. And again, you can do this with stickers, you can do this with ephemera. And you can do as little or as much as you like. Let's add a little button. And another little small flower, just to kind of give it some dimension and depth. So there's our first little cluster. Now I think I'm going to go ahead and put my phrase on before I add the last 2 little stickers. Okay, To do the phrase, I just grabbed some gold glitter stickers from my stash. You can use any thicker you want or any alphabet sticker you want. I'm also using the Thickers Guide. I love using this line guide to help me place my stickers in straight lines. So let's go ahead and build our phrase. So you can see I've lined up my thickers along my Thickers Guide, just along one of the straight lines on the ruler, and spacing them pretty evenly, also using the grid on the ruler. So now I'm ready to transfer them to my page. This one's going to go about right there. And I can use the lines on my paper and the lines on my guide to help them get a little bit more straight. It's a fun little tool. And then you just simply lift up the bottom and it releases, and then you press the bottom down. Actually, I want to move my Y over a little bit now that I look at it, so it's going to be a little harder to get it straight, but I wanted it a little closer. Okay, so now we have happy, we just need day. Okay, day is about ready to go. Just going to straighten it up just a little bit. These stickers were a fun set because they had two different sizes of alphabets, so the smaller and the larger, but you could use really anything. You could even use die cut alphabets and get the same effect. Just cut some out on glitter paper and you have that same effect. Okay, so now we have our cute happy day phrase on our front of page 2. Let's go ahead and add those few little stickers that were left from the original design, which are some little bees. I like to balance out and have it flow up the page like that. That's why I'm adding a few more stickers. I love working with alphabet thickers or die cuts because really you can customize it to anything. Whatever you want this page to say, you can customize. Let's open it up to the middle. Now we're going to create a few little details inside of here just to make it interesting with some die cuts from the card kit. These were 2 that were included in the card kit. Again, you could use stamped images, you could use any ephemera from your stash. And then also 2 little borders of washi tape. The card kit came with really cute washi tape sheet right here. So I'm going to use that one on mine, but again, you can use whatever washi you have in your stash or even strips of paper. You could even punch little shaped borders onto it if you wanted to. Whatever you like and what you have on hand. This washi is fun because it's scallop. It's kind of like a little rickrack border, scallop border. So there's the one piece, and then I'm going to do the pink on this side. Down both edges. Okay, now it's just time to add a little embellishment. So we have our little month calendar. Now, if you wanted to hide something under this, you could add a little bit of washi at the top right here so it could flip up. I'm just going to go ahead and adhere it down straight to the page. And I'm going to add another little sticker. Decorating part is the fun part, right? Because you can kind of do whatever you want. Then this little love you, I'm going to put again at the other side, this time at the top. You could also make that flip if you wanted to, or hinge this way so it could open up. Let's add a little butterfly sticker there. This design is really modeled after the original one that Shara did, so I suggest you go and look at hers as well to see a different color scheme. Then I just added a little bit of trim down the side again. So these little pom-poms can kind of come off the edge. This is a ribbon that has little tiny pom-poms on the side. So I'm just going to do it just barely over the edge of the washi, and so that those little pom-poms can kind of come over the edge and be seen on the back as well. Let's trim that up a little bit to make it even. There we have it. Okay, let's move to the back. So on the back, we have our little flip page. Okay, keep in mind that you want to keep this area free. So this little flip page measures 3 3/4 wide by 3 1/4 tall. And that allowed room here for our cinch binding. And you could also, since we added this little extension of the trim, you could even scoot it all the way over to the edge of the trim if you wanted to. And that is just adhered with a simple little piece of washi tape. Now on this version, you can see that I added this fun ruffle trim underneath, and we're going to do that. I stitched that down, and so I covered my stitching on the inside with another piece of ephemera. So that is an option too, to cover your stitching if it peeks through. So let's do that now. Let's cut a little piece of trim. So this is just fun ribbon trim. I just did it about as wide as my piece of ephemera. And then I just folded it in half. And that's why I sewed it down. So it's easier to hold it to it if it stitches down. So then I stitched it down and then added my little ephemera piece over the top. Let's see if we can do it with just regular adhesive. I bet it will work. Little down the middle, fold it on itself, and then a little on the back. This is really pretty trim because it feels like fabric. Just adhere it down. You can actually put some little cheap little spots where you tack down the top. A little extra adhesive so it stays in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this. And I'm going to do it with a pop dot so that it will pop up off of the page. Also allows some room for that ribbon trim to kind of fluff underneath there and not get squished. Okay, now we're ready to adhere it with a little bit of washi tape. Then I'll just apply my washi tape slightly above so that it can stick to both the flip card. So you can see the washi tape is extending just about halfway up off the back so that it can attach to the flip card and to my card front base to create that little flip. And I like to push it down with the edge of my nail in the crease just so I get a really good stick there so that it flips up really nicely. Now you have a spot to hide some more photos and journaling underneath. If you didn't want to put a photo here, you could go ahead and add this ephemera, or you could write around your piece of ephemera. This I just added on the other version because I had stitched and I wanted to cover up my little stitches. The last thing that I did to add to this one was another one of those little sticker flip pages. Just like we did on the front page, I'm going to take one of these, place it so it sits just below so the words can still be read. Stick it down. Again, we're going to have some exposed sticky back here. So what do? We grab out our little cornstarch powder and apply that to the back until it's no longer sticky. Just takes the stick off and turns it into ephemera. One last little sticker that I'm going to add right there, just for a hint of color and fun. Then we have our little flip page ready to go. There we go. Page 2 is done. Stack it up right over there. All right, let's move on to card 3. First front of our card, we again have a piece that is 2 1/4 by 5 1/2, and we're going to tear down that left side again. So I just flipped it around and faced it toward me so that I could pull with my right hand. If you're left-handed, you could probably do it the other way. And then we're just going to adhere that directly to the page. Again, top, outer side, and bottom. The 3 edges that aren't torn, those are the ones that we're going to put some adhesive on. And then all we have left to do is tuck in a few little ephemera pieces. These were 2 that were in the card kit. I thought this would be so cute with a picture behind it. So that's why I chose that one. And those are just simply tucked inside. Then we added a little piece of ribbon here as well. This is a wider ribbon that I folded in half to make it a little more narrow. So I'm just going to cut it to size. Fold it so both rows of palm show. Add a little adhesive inside, just like we did on the pink one. And again, you could stitch this on or you can adhere it on just like I am doing. On my original sample, I went ahead and I did a zigzag stitch right here to adhere this to this page. But for now, I'm just going to use adhesive. You could also use a hand stitch, just like you did on our little hearts we made. That would also be another way you could add stitching, is by hand stitching elements like this to your pages. Then I'm going to trim up just a little bit here at the edges. Now we have our little trim, again, our cute little pom-pom edge. Now, if you don't have trim and you want this same look, you could do a scalloped punch and scallop a little piece of paper so it overhangs the edge, or a die cut, anything like that that just adds a little visual interest to the edge of the pages, so when the book's closed, it has some fun elements happening on the sides. Inside, we have another pocket page on this side of the page, and we have this base paper. So you could build this whole thing first by tearing your edges, just like we've done before. These are the same sizes again. 1 3/4 by 5 1/2, and 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. All of these pockets are the same measurement, just to make it easy to remember and easy to cut. We'll go ahead and adhere on the 3 sides that aren't torn. Once you've got the hang of the few techniques taught in this album, it comes together really quickly. We'll add a little bit of adhesive again here. Now, once that was dry, if you wanted to add machine stitching, you would do that now, just around the edges so that your pockets stay free, and then you would adhere it here. Then your little stitches on the back would be hidden. Since we're not machine stitching for this tutorial, I'll go ahead and adhere it down. I like to adhere these inner pages just to the side of the score line. I find that they lay in there flatter if I do that. So I start on that side and then go over. So there's our little pocket right there. Now we just need to do a little wrap for this side. And for that, I've cut a piece that is 1 inch wide by 5 1/2 inch long. So it's the same height as my card, and just scored right down the middle at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to fold it there just to make this little piece that can wrap around the edge. Now, if you wanted, you could adhere it out a little bit, so this piece would also stick out of your book when it's closed. Same technique as the ribbon, just using paper. And then if you wanted to, on mine, I just zigzag stitched it down this piece on my sewing machine, and it looks the same on the front and the back. So zigzag stitches are a good way that you don't have to hide your stitch. Okay, let's talk about these cute little stitched and embroidered floral pieces. So in Shara's original album, she also did some embroidery like this. Hers weren't on flowers, so you should go look at hers as well to see another variation. But I'll show you again how I did this. It's the same technique that we already used on doing our little quilted hearts. So I've got these larger floral ephemera pieces, and I'm just going to look at them and see where the natural stitch lines fall. So where I chose to do it were on these darker pink lines and the little green circles that are inside of the center of the flower. Again, I just took my needle and pierced along those lines. So I started kind of at the top and the bottom, and then just evenly spaced-ish my pierced holes, making sure that I start and stop at the end of each of those lines. So you can kind of see those holes there where I've stitched. Now I would continue to do that on all of the pieces and then just do that same back stitch that we did before. I would use whatever color you wanted. For this one, I actually used pink thread. So let's grab some pink. This is just embroidery floss this time. And I am going to divide it into 3 strings each. So this is a 6-strand embroidery floss, and I'm going to take out 3 of the strands and just work with 3 of them. You could use the whole thing if you want it to be chunkier. Go ahead and thread your needle. And just the same way, you would start at one of the ends of the lines, tack, knot, or hold the end of your floss, and then you'll just go ahead and do that same back stitch where I move back to the hole. On these flowers, I always have to make sure they don't tangle around the petals. Up a hole, back in the hole. It's a very simple straight stitch. If you wanted to get fancy and you know embroidery, you could do whatever stitch you like there. And then for the little circles around the center of the flower, I did French knots. And there are lots of tutorials about how to do French knots. You could also just do little crisscrosses, little cross stitches, which are more straight stitches. It's very easy and very fun to embroider on your ephemera. So in the end, this is what it looked like. So you can see all those little French knots, the pink stitching, more French knots. Since this was gold foil, I left that one and just added stitching to the leaves. So you can have a lot of fun with embroidering on your ephemera if that is your thing. So that's what we did there. All right, on the back, all we need to do is add a sticker. You can see that zigzag stitch there too. Let's go ahead and add a sticker to the back. A phrase, a piece of ephemera, a strip of washi, whatever you like. You could even add this after you've added a photo here to kind of adhere it to the side and make it into a flip photo, because I could tuck my photo underneath that and then it would flip just the same as as our washi flips. So there is page 3. Let's move on to page 4. Let's remind ourselves what we're doing. Page 4 has this little clipped on piece of ephemera that you could journal on, hide photos under and behind. Lots of spots to put photos. We made a little photo clip, and then we've got that double pocket again, a hinged pocket, which we've done, a hinged frame, and then this is not a pocket, it's just a decorative page. And then we have a double flip on the back. We got all kinds of flips going on this page. So let's get going. Okay, so here's our card. And we're going to start with the front piece. So this is basically building a little piece to go on the front of your card. Just with little pieces of paper. This was actually an ephemera piece. You could also cut something down to a 3x4 that would also work. This could be cut from pattern paper as well. This was also an embellishment that was in a die cut that was in the card kit. I'm just going to adhere that to the top, slightly off centered. And then this is one of the little hearts that was from before when we cut out our little heart frames. Now on this example, you can see that I went ahead and did that same straight stitch around the edge. You can do that or not, it's up to you. If you like the stitching, this is a great project for you to add that in anywhere you want. Go ahead and add that little heart. Have another little floral die cut. You could use a sticker. This again is just making a little cluster of pretty things. Let's add a tiny little phrase that says sweet right there. And our little card is ready to clip. Now we just need to make our clip. So we're going to grab a standard paper clip, a tiny scrap of paper, and a little butterfly embellishment. So I'm just going to go to the top of my clip, flip it over to the back. I like to add a little bit of adhesive underneath, even though I know it's not holding really tightly. I'm just using regular tape runner for this, but you could use a glue dot or hot glue if you feel like you want it more sturdy. I've found this is holding for me okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it the same way. Put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this scrap of paper that's just big enough to go over the top. I like to push it down really tight around that bend in my paper clip so that all of the adhesion is good. And now we have this cute little butterfly clip. Easy as that. And that's what I'm using to clip that onto my page. Let's flip it open. And on this side, we just have, I'm going to take this off for a minute because I'm going to adhere some things here. We have another little double pocket. So here's our pieces. 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 is the base. Then we have our 2 layered pockets again. So let's go ahead and tear those and glue those onto our card. Then we just adhere this to the inside left side. And again, if you wanted to stitch, now would be the moment before you adhere. Do my trick where I go up against the score line again. Here. Now we have our little page, and we can clip our butterfly piece back on now that we have our page in place. And now we have this 2 little double pocket again. Then on this side was that decorative side where all of the papers were layered up. And then we had this little frame in the ephemera. You could cut a frame out of anything if you wanted to cut a frame, or do a regular piece of ephemera or a journaling square and just flip that up. So let's do our base page first. And it's these 3 strips of paper that are just each slightly smaller than each other. They are 2 3/4 by 5 1/2, 2 by 5 1/2, and 1 1/4 by 5 1/2. And these measurements, again, are all in your PDF. Then we just layer them however you want on your card base and adhere them straight down. Now, if you wanted, you could make these 3 pocket cards. You could also stitch around them to hold them into place. I'm just going to adhere them straight on. So these torn pieces, I'm actually going to just adhere a photo or something on top of them instead of tucking it into a pocket. It's up to you what you want to do for your book. Go all the way to the edge. So now we have our cute little layered base page. And then I just added another little piece of trim. This time I did this fun ribbon. I think it would hold better with stitches or some red tape or really strong adhesive tape. But we'll try for this one. It's a very pretty lace trim. Again, you can use whatever you want to extend off the edges of your pages or omit that part completely if it's not your thing. Totally customizable. Okay, hey, that is going to hold. Great. Now all we have left to do on the inside is to add our little flip frame. Since this one is super scalloped, I'm just going to take my scissors and trim so that I have a flush edge. So I'm just going to trim off the edges of that scallop so that it's nice and straight. I just find that the flip works better if I don't have those bumps to contend with. So I'm going to place it where I want it and then grab another piece of washi tape. And just like we did our other flip page, we're going to make this little frame a flip. So halfway onto the frame, halfway onto the base card. Run my fingernail along it to get a nice good adhesion and a nice good flip. And then making sure again that I left that 1/4 inch gap. So you can see I didn't do it all the way over to the center because that's where our cinch holes are going to go. So always keep that in mind. And then you can see how cute it would be. You can put a little photo behind it and then it hides that little page, and then you get this great reveal when you open it up. So fun. Such an easy little technique. On the back, we're going to have 2 flip pages. So for that one, I just found a couple of pieces of ephemera. These 2 little pieces. This one's actually a 3x4 piece of cut pattern paper. And I love this paper because in this particular paper, you already have the cross stitch marks. So you can see on the finished one, I added those little crisscrossy stitches on that heart. Super easy to do. Again, it's just piercing with your needle and doing straight stitches one direction and then straight stitches crossing back the other direction. And you just work in rows. It's so fun and so easy and such a fun element. Since I did do this stitching on this piece, I also backed the cover so that you didn't see the back side of my stitches on the inside here. If you don't adhere that, then you don't need that extra 3x4 piece. Okay, so for this one, we're going to start with this piece first and layer it, remembering to keep our 1/4 inch over here. And I'm just going to use this little scrap left over from another flip. Halfway on the ephemera, halfway on the card base. And then we have that first flip. And then our other flip is going to come from the bottom, keeping in mind that gap. And we'll just put another little piece of washi along the bottom. So now we have that double flip. You can hide photos back here and underneath. Then I added a little sticker and a little piece of trim just to indicate that that lifts up. That's totally optional. You can do that or you can not do that. So there is our 4th page. One more left to go. For our 5th page, let's look at it again. We have this front pocket, again, another one of those little hearts we saved from cutting our frames. Then we have sticker decorations on the inside and a fun back panel for the back cover. Let's go ahead and get started on this one. Again, we are doing a cute little tuck pocket. This again is a 2 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece, all the same. Tried to make this as easy as possible so that you didn't have to overthink your measuring. And then this one is just a single, so it's just going to go right here on the front. This is a fun scrappy project or a scrap busting project because you can really use just all these little pieces and strips that you have from other things. And then the heart, again, like I said before, was just a little heart from when we made our large frame. So remember when we cut out our little frame, this is the heart that was left. And again, on my finished one, I went ahead and did some of those straight stitches around. That's an option that you can do that. And then just added a phrase sticker. I do think that the stitching adds a little something on this piece, so I do recommend doing it on this one. Now, when you adhere this to your page, make sure you only adhere it from where the edge of the pocket is to the outside so that you don't accidentally close up your pocket from this side. So I noticed it was about my center line. Go ahead and adhere that, and now you see I can still tuck things into that pocket. Then for fun, just added a little bit more trim on the edge. So I did some bright pink pom-poms. There's some bright pink pom-poms. You could also do another layer if you want. On mine I did another layer of this purple trim right here, and you just put it on in the exact same way. So again, that's really up to your design preference. You can do whatever you like on your book, or combine trims and those punch border pieces. That would be really cute too. Okay, let's open this up. I'm going to trim off my end, and we'll work on the inside. The inside is just made up of a series of little clusters using these fun little pieces from the card kit. So let's go ahead and start just layering them up. I like this sticker because it kind of looks like it shouldn't sit in a corner. It is on the sheet and it just works. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one on this corner. Do a little cluster up here, an opposing corner. If you wanted to leave this blank and just fill the whole thing with writing or photos, you could do that as well. I just am having fun with these stickers, so I think I'm going to just go ahead and add them. Grateful up on this side. Stickering is really fun. This card kit has a lot of fun little phrases. And the last bit was using the phrase happy at the bottom. I'm going to use my thicker placement guide again, just to get it straight. These are cute little stickers. This one I'm just going to lay right across the fold. I'm going to have the fold fall between the A and the P. There's our little happy. I think we just need one more little flower and maybe a ladybug. There we go. There's our insides. All done. Now we just have our back cover left. And for the back cover, I just used another scrap of paper. This is 3x4 again. Now this one, you could adhere it on the sides and the bottom, and then you'd have a top pocket. You could adhere it on the tops and bottoms and one long side, and then have another pocket from either side. I'm just going to let this be a bold statement piece and just adhere the whole thing down. But you do have options anytime you're adding these layers of paper to create pockets and tucks and flips. This one I'm just going to center, but making sure I have enough room over here so it's slightly, ever so slightly to the left. Adhere that down. Then I just have another little piece of ephemera, little thin little banner strip. This is fine to punch through, so I'm just going to go all the way to the edge. There we go. Add a little die cut piece. And our word cherish. And now we are ready to cinch. All of our pages are assembled and ready to go. Let's grab our multi-cinch. And if you haven't used the multi-cinch, what's awesome about this tool is it works just like our little mini cinch, but it has interchangeable cartridges. So the one we're using today is the heart cartridge, but you could use circles, squares, there's all different cartridges that plug into it to change the hole type. So this one's going to do hearts, and you just slide it right into the multi-cinch until it clicks. And then you go ahead and use it like a regular cinch. Now for my book, I just wanted it to be partially bound. So I just did one punch centered on the side of my card. So let's do that now. So I just put mine, luckily my card is almost exactly the same width as the deck of my cinch. So I literally just made it so that it was equal by feel on either side and then punched my hearts. So you can see those little hearts that have been punched. And you can see why we needed that little space, right? Next to our thing. So let's punch each of our pages in the same way. Make sure your tucks are all laying flat and that you get it all the way in, all the way to the back of the cinch. It's centered on the deck. We have a lot of layers on some of these pages, so don't worry if it sounds a little loud on some of those punches. It's sturdy. It can go through all of them. Okay, now we're ready to bind. So we turn our cinch to the other side, and I have pre-cut my coil because I knew that I needed 6 little prongs to fit on the 6 little heart holes. So let's go ahead and put our little piece of coil on the side of the cinch. Now, to hide the coil within the binding, you'll take your back page and you'll flip it around just like that to be on the top of the pile. And then when we're done cinching, we'll flip that page back, and the gap in the coil will be hidden between the last 2 pages. We'll go ahead and thread those onto our coil. It's ready to go. And the multi-cinch uses the 5/8 cinch coil only. So that is a limitation with this multi-cinch. Can't go any bigger than 5/8 inch. Then we're going to go ahead and place it in the back of our machine and cinch. Now you can see it brought the edges of that coil together. There's that little gap I was telling you about. So let's hide that on the inside of our book by flipping that back page around. And now we have our little cinched album. It's all ready to go and fill with happy memories. This was such a fun project. I hope that you do it. The last thing I did was to just add a little tassel charm to my coil just to make it even a little bit more fun. Let's flip through it one more time. So you've got the double pockets right here, our quilted hearts, lots of room for photos, flip page, a pocket here, a double pocket here, so you can put something in each of those. You could even make this a little pocket if you were strategic about where you put your glue, our embroidered floral. This little piece that comes off and you can use the back, our little clip we made, our double pocket here as well, the frame you can back with something, then you can add another photo there. Then we have our double flip, lots of room again, pocket here, room to write, add small photos, and then our back cover. Such a great project. We thank Shara for sharing it with us, and I hope you enjoyed this longer tutorial and that you'll make one of your own.